the Mortality Mindset Podcast with Patrick Mathieu, designed to help you live a life of radical resilience at home, at work, everywhere.
Hi, it's Patrick. Welcome to the Mortality Mindset Podcast. Today, I want to talk about procrastination. I have a weekly email newsletter, and this week's newsletter, I talked about procrastination, and the subject line was 5 simple steps to end procrastination. And if you're not getting that email, you really should. You can sign up at mortalitymindset.com. Down at the bottom, there's a link, and you can sign up there. And I'm just going to read you some of the email, and then we can jump into a bigger discussion about procrastination. So in the email, I said, procrastination is an incredibly common problem/excuse for why we don't get to the important things in our lives. But it doesn't have to be that way. I know I promised you a 5-step plan, but I lied. It's 1 step. Ready? You know the big, important thing you want to do, but you've been putting off? Do it! That's it. Do the damn thing. You said it's important, right? Then do it. Now, if you're telling me all the reasons you can't just do it, then try this 2-step process. Step 1, start it. Step 2, finish it. Okay, maybe you've got something really big. Maybe you're working on something very, very big. In that case, I have 3 steps for you. 1, start it. 2, stick with it. 3, finish it. So, that's what I wrote, and then there's a little bit more after that. But that's kind of the jumping off point that I want to take this at. Because I don't think there's such a thing as procrastination. And here's why. So, you might want to argue with me on that one, and that's fair. But here's why I don't think there is something like procrastination. Because if those tactics that I just outlined, do it, start it, and then finish it, start it, stick with it, and finish it, if those don't work, if you're going to tell me, oh yeah, but you don't understand, Patrick, because blah, 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 like whatever your reasons are, if you have reasons why you're procrastinating, then it's not procrastination that's your problem. It's priorities. I'm going to say that again. It's not procrastinating that's your problem. It's getting your priorities straight. Let me give you an example. If I tell you, just do it, and you say, oh, it's not that simple. And I say, fine, then just start it and then finish it. And you say, well, I would start it, but I need input from this other person over here and I'm waiting for them. Okay, that's not procrastination. If you're ready to go, if you got that input from them today and you were ready to go, that's not procrastination. So stop thinking of it as procrastination. You're just in a holding pattern. And when we label things procrastination, this is why in the email I mentioned that we use it as an excuse. Procrastination has kind of become this socially acceptable flaw, if you want to call it that. And people will say, oh, me, I meant to do it, but I just procrastinated, silly me. And everybody goes, oh yeah, because we all procrastinate. And it's kind of one of those wink, wink, we all get it, we've all been there scenarios. And I don't think that's useful. I don't think that's helpful for any of us. So if you're in a holding pattern because you're waiting for somebody, call it that. So yes, I have this big thing that I'm working on, but I'm waiting for somebody to get back to me. And as soon as I hear from them, I'm ready to go. Great. That's wonderful. Now, what if you tell me, no, it's not that I'm waiting for somebody. It's just that there's something else that has to happen first. Okay, then do that thing. Whatever is in the way, get that done. And this is where we, our linear nature sometimes can really undo us when it comes to moving forward with things. Because if we've kind of laid it out like A, B, C, D for the process, and we start A, but then we get stuck on B because we need like A1 and A2 and A3 to happen, but we're still fixated on doing B, go and do A1 and go and do A2 and go and do, like, just get things done. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about in the last episode about the roles of goals. This, when we get too committed to the linear process, we can lose sight of the bigger goal. Like we can lose sight of the bigger vision. When we get too focused on the goals and the little milestones along the way, we lose sight of the bigger vision. So if this thing that you want to accomplish is important and it's big enough, then you'll do whatever needs to be done. And if something's in the way, you'll handle that. You'll take care of that. You'll get what needs to get done finished so you can move on to the next step. I'm going to keep underlining that fact is that it's about the priorities. So if you're telling me that you're procrastinating about things, I really want you to stop and just reflect. I'm not here to shame you. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I'm here to encourage you to think about the story you're telling yourself about why you're not doing these things. And the reason I'm doing this podcast is I got a lot of feedback from that newsletter that I sent out on Monday. And, I had a lot of people say, oh my God, thanks for that. Like I needed that kind of push. I needed that little kick because there's definitely, there's been a project on my desk for the longest time. And I know I need to do it, but I'm just putting it off and I'm just not doing it. In that case, it's not important enough to you, right? If it's on your desk, obviously it's important or it wouldn't have made it to your desk. But if it's not getting your attention, then it's not important enough. And you need to, maybe reevaluate your the criteria for things actually getting on your radar or getting on your desk. So why take something on unless you're committed to getting it done? Unless you're committed to following through with it. There's been lots written about the important skill of being able to say no and being able to, protect your time and set boundaries for yourself. And maybe you need to look at that. If you're falling into the category of somebody who has a lot on their plate and you're plagued because these things are there, but you're just not getting to them because they're really not that important. Well, then why are they on your plate in the first place? It might be worth going through them from a very kind of harsh perspective and say, does this matter? And again, use the mortality mindset. Look at this in terms of the finite lifespan that we may have and say, will this matter if I don't get it done? Like if something happens to me and I never get this off my to-do list or I never get this off my desk, does that matter? Is this important in the big scheme of things? And if it's not, then don't do it. Then take it off your desk. Some of us have a hard time setting those boundaries. Some of us have a hard time saying no. Some of us have a hard time saying, well, no, yes, that's a good project that you've brought to me, but it's not on my priority list, so I'm not going to take it on. That's out of our comfort zone. So it seems like a better strategy to say, oh yeah, that sounds like a wonderful project. You know what? Leave it with me. And if you're one of those kind of leave it with me people, you're going to have a bunch of things vying for your time and not getting done because they're not important to you. They're not part of your core vision for yourself and for your life and for how you want to use your time. And this isn't just about time management. I want to be very, very clear about that. And I'm going to talk a lot more about time management in upcoming episodes, because I think this whole idea of productivity and time management, needs a lot more focus. And I'm going to bring that focus soon. This thing about procrastination is not just a time management issue. It's really about the vision. It's about understanding your what matters most and working towards that, being sure that everything that you take on is moving you in the direction of experiencing your what matters most. And I've talked about, the value of experiences versus the value of goals. And that's what I'm getting at, is that if you're taking on other people's projects, if you're taking on other people's urgent tasks, but they're only urgent to them and not to you, or other people's important tasks, but they're only important to them and not to you, you're really not doing yourself any favors. Because in the short term, you get to feel good because you said yes to them. But in the longer term, you're going to pay the price, because you either have to sacrifice your own time and energy to work on something that you're not really that jazzed about, or you let it fall into the procrastination zone. And, I'm putting air quotes around procrastination. You let it fall into that black hole of, I'm not saying no, but I'm actually not looking at this either. I'm just going to pretend it doesn't exist right now. And then you have to live with sort of that low level anxiety, knowing that that's this thing that's dangling out there and taking up your time and taking up your mental space. Getting clear about your priorities, getting clear about your vision, getting clear about what matters most, that's how you end procrastination. That's how you are super clear about what you should be doing each and every day when you get up. It's very easy to go through your to-do list and to sort out your schedule and your calendar if you're using the mortality mindset in that way. If you're using it as the compass that I talk about in the What Matters Most program, if you're using it as that internal PGS, your personal guidance, your personal guidance system, as I call it in the What Matters Most program. So when you have that personal guidance system tuned to what matters most for you, it becomes very, very easy to decide what belongs on your calendar and what doesn't. And to be able to do that, not from a place of confrontation, or not from a place of conflict, like my stuff's more important than your stuff, but from a place of just peace and understanding that's like, listen, this is my life. I've got to be true to myself. I really don't have time for this. And, good luck, but I'm not the one to help you with this. That's it. It's totally fair to be able to say that to people. Now, if, this is a work environment and this is somebody who you answer to, if this is a boss giving you things, well, then obviously you need to follow that, because what matters most in those situations is different. You're not working off of your personal guidance system. You're working off of I'm at work and here's the guidance system that I'm using there. Right. And that's a different scenario. I'm just talking about, in your life as a whole. Now, what about procrastinating in the other sense? And what I mean is, when we fall into the Netflix zone, when we fall into just scroll, like when you get on your phone and you just start with the scrolling, or you get on social media and you just start scrolling. And, we can blame social media, and we can blame the people at Facebook and at Twitter and at all these different places who, and I forget who, I should have researched it. There's the guy who came up with the scroll, who came up with this idea. I'm pretty sure it was Facebook. And he was the one who came up with the endless scroll. So it's not just like it scrolls through a little bit. It will just keep scrolling forever and ever. And he came up with this, and he thought it was a great idea. And he has since come out and said, that was the worst thing I ever did. It seemed like a great idea to keep people engaged on Facebook, but he also realizes what it's done to society. So if you're finding yourself falling into those voids, into those sort of spaces where you're working on nothing, where you're accomplishing nothing, where you're really contributing nothing and doing nothing. And I don't say that from a judgmental point of view, because I spend time in that zone myself, too often. But it's a cue. It's a cue to yourself to look at what's important, to look at your vision, to look at your personal guidance system and say, wait a minute, I'm not in touch with that. Either you haven't got that figured out. And if that's the case, I can help you. I can, we can talk about that. But if you haven't got it figured out, get it figured out. Figure out what your vision is. Figure out what your personal guidance system is. Figure out what matters most. Work with me, do the What Matters Most program, whatever it takes, right? Get something nailed down that you can work towards and feel good about. And then if you have that in place, but you're still finding yourself from time to time, you're catching yourself in that scroll, void, null place of doing nothing, then it's about reminding yourself that you're drifting. You haven't looked at the big picture in a while. You're not either. One of two things is happening. One, you're not closely aligned with your vision. You're not in touch with that vision. You're not being lit up and excited by what it is you've said you're here to do. Or the second thing is that you're not in touch with your mortality. Plain and simple. You're falling into the trap of thinking you have enough time. And that is a place I do not want you. I do not want any of us in that place of being immortal, of acting and thinking like we're immortal. So if you have your vision figured out, if you know why you're here, if you're clear about what you want, but you're not acting on it. And I get, like I said, I find myself in that zone. It's a reminder to myself that, oh yeah, I'm pretending that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I can deal with it then. But what if I don't wake up tomorrow? And as I said in the previous episode about goals, it's not that I have to have this thing finished before I go to bed. It's not this, productivity treadmill that I'm trying to put you on. The idea is I will sleep much better when I go to bed knowing that I worked towards something. However long the road was, whether the road was, on the upward trend or on the downward trend or, going sideways. All of those things are fine as long as I'm actually engaged, as long as I'm actually doing something about moving towards that vision. I will have a crappy sleep if I've been spending the day scrolling or just having Netflix ask me if I'm still watching, because that's a day I've wasted. That's time that I can't get back. That's time that I was borrowing from an account that it's like spending money on your credit card, right? You don't have that money. So when I borrow money and I say, you know what, I'm going to put this on. This is super important. And this is my mission. And this is my goal. And this is, this is what I'm here for. But I'll do it another time. What I'm doing is spending on my credit card in that sense, right? So I'm spending money that I don't have, and I'm going to have to pay for that down the road. And hopefully I get to pay for it down the road, but there's a chance that I won't. Right? So that's the mortality piece, is bringing your awareness into the fact that we're not guaranteed to wake up tomorrow. We weren't guaranteed to wake up today. We know that this will end at some point, and no one can tell us when that end is going to come. And we certainly can't expect any kind of, warning or wake up call. So with that awareness, and then not going into a place of fear around all of that, but using that as a driving force to say, yes, that's why I'm going to have laser focus on what goes on my desk. That's what's going to give me the laser focus to be able to look at something and either say, hell yes, I'm going to do that, or no, thank you, that's not for me. And when I have that laser focus that the mortality mindset brings, I can make those decisions in an instant because I just know whether that's something that's for me or not. And I waste no time at all making those decisions. I waste no time and no mental energy trying to figure out how to do or manage these things that I've taken on because I didn't really want to anyways, because I don't take them on in the first place. And I don't procrastinate anymore. because I'm working towards my vision. I'm experiencing the life that I want. I'm moving towards that, and there's just simply no need for procrastination because this is what I'm here for. So think about that. Mull that over. If you want to argue with me, like let me know why if you think there is a reason for procrastination, or if you think that, when I say there's no such thing as procrastination, if you want to make the case, shoot me back a message, do it on social media, whatever platform, or respond in the comments or whatever it takes, and let me know and see if you can change my mind on this. But if I've moved your position on this, please do me a favor, act on it. All right? Get moving. And I'll go back to my earlier advice. Step number 1, do the damn thing. And share this. Thanks.